What's the difference between an old dirt bike and a new dirt bike? Well, let's have a look at this one here. 1984 Yamaha TT600. 600cc single cylinder, had a 2-stage carburetor, twin port exhausts. So she was a pretty performance orientated bike back in the day, and it was 600 cc's, not 450, not 500. So what it lacked in revs, it made up for in grunt. So if I ride this bike today, performance wise, I find it to be every bit as quick, if not as quick, as a WR450. So the difference is mainly in upgrades. So you'll see here we've got the traditional forks, the suspension, but it's adequate, nothing wrong with it. We've still got the Yamaha monoshock system, which is what they're currently using on the WRs. We've got drum brakes on the rear. Well, they're not real flash. And we've got drum brakes on the front. So, again, not real flash, but if you have a look at them, they're the twin leading shoe drum brakes, which makes them quite acceptable. They're okay. So in terms of the difference between this bike and a modern bike, what are you getting if you go for the modern bike? If you think you're getting reliability, I'd be thinking again, because the fast revving 4-strokes don't necessarily have the service life of this style of engine. They produce the power by trying to emulate a 2-stroke. So they rev twice as hard, which means they wear twice as quick. But the other side of that, the other downside to that is, it reduces the stroke of the motor. So they don't actually produce the thumping power that this bike can. Now, why is that important? Well, if you think of a 2-stroke and you pour the gas on a 2-stroke, it's very hard to maintain traction because it'll deliver it very quickly to the rear wheel. You get rear wheel spin. Now, rear wheel spin is not what you want if you're looking for acceleration. What you really want is you want something that can put the power to the ground in a format that's usable. And that's what the thumping long stroke 4-stroke does. Puts the power to the ground. So that means on the dirt, this bike, when you flatten it, is quite capable of keeping up with a WR450. In fact, top end, this bike is faster than a WR450. And I'm sure that if you took a competent rider and you put him on this bike and put him up against a fella on a WR450, the only difference would be in the track. If it was a short track that, required plenty of snap out of the corners, the WR might better him. But if it's a longer, more traditional, like a 1980s style motocross track, the TT600 will eat it. And another thing too, if you took a 2-stroke and put it on that short modern day track up against the WR450 or even a YZ450, the truth is the 2-stroke's probably going to beat both of them anyway. So what do you get for your money with a modern motorbike that you don't get on an old bike? The answer overall is very little. Unless you're competing, you're a competitive rider, you may as well stick with a bike that you can maintain, that's got some longevity in it, that'll take you to where you need to be. And for me, this TT is my preference.